That was a beautiful sunny morning, and I got up early and went to the car repair shop, and I was working on our own car, getting it prepared for MOT. I came home round about lunchtime, and I was in the kitchen having some food, and I asked my wife, is Aidan up yet? And shortly after that he came down and he stood at the kitchen door, and he said that he was going into town with his friend to buy a pair of jeans, and then he just walked down the hall, and I remember him saying, "I won't be long." After that I left and went to the garage, and I was actually lying underneath a car when I heard the explosion.
The massive car bomb in Omagh exploded at 3:10 in the heart of the town's busy shopping area.
And I knew right away that it was a bomb because I'd heard many similar explosions over the previous 35 years. And I immediately got up and locked the garage and travelled home. And as I was driving, I could see in the distance a pall of smoke rising. I had no idea where it was. But when I went home, I discovered that Aidan hadn't phoned home or hadn't came home, and we were very concerned, and I left immediately for the hospital. It was quite a horrific scene. A lot of people very, very seriously injured, and I frantically went through the hospital looking for Aidan, and I couldn't find him. I went home to see if he had arrived home, and he hadn't, and his friend's father had arrived at our house, and then we both went back to the hospital, and we still couldn't find Aidan or his friend. And then we left and went to the scene. We got quite close to the scene, and there was a car park quite nearby where I had discussed with Aidan before he left where he should park the car. And when I went into the car park, there was only 2 cars in the car park, and one of them was Aidan's, and I knew that something very serious had happened. I then returned to the county hospital, and we discovered Aidan's friend in one of the wards, and we asked him where Aidan was, and he said the last thing he remembers was that both of them were walking down the street together, and they just were lifted into the air, and that was the last time that he'd seen Aidan. I left the hospital and went to the leisure centre. That's where the information was collated, and it seemed forever. I couldn't eat or I couldn't drink, but in the early hours, I think it was about 3:30 in the morning, I was taken into a room, and 2 police officers asked me some very detailed questions about Aidan's clothing and his appearance, and I just knew by the nature of the questions that it wasn't going to be a happy outcome. And when we finished, he asked me to go to the local army camp where one of the helicopter hangars had been turned into a temporary mortuary, and it was there that Aidan's body was identified. What we done as, I think it was more out of curiosity. In fact, it even started before the funerals. There was a hunger to learn more about the other victims' families. And some of us, because it was a small town, some of us knew each other. So we sort of informally, if you like, met and had this ad hoc group. The world moves on. Unfortunately, you don't move on at the same pace as the world. I think it was for that reason that we came together and really supported each other. We understood each other because we had all shared a common suffering. So it was good It was good to talk to people. My life has changed completely because before the bombing, before Aidan died, we had a business. It was something we both enjoyed doing and working together. After the bomb, I went back into the garage and I made an attempt to carry on, but I found it too difficult, I found it too painful, you know, to look over and see Aidan's overalls hanging. I just found that too difficult. And while I was there, I was constantly thinking about Omagh, thinking about what had happened, what I should be doing. So as a result of that, what I'd done was I really made Omagh part of my life. And over the past 12 years, I have worked mainly with victims and victim-related issues, and I have become very, very involved. And I suppose in some ways that has been, maybe for me, my type of therapy.